In this short video, I want to discuss some pegs, okay, that may help you think about the play in under the superficial level. So it may help you go and find paths or avenues to travel down that in turn will allow you to make a sophisticated or complicated observation. Now, please understand, sophistication and complication don't exist for their own rights, but for any sort of analysis, which is basically what literary writing is about, you got to be able to come up with something that's beyond the obvious, and you have to show it as a possibility, and then you even have to suggest that it's a probability as far as a message or an interpretation or an observation. Okay, so when you read Pericles, when you open it up, right, and you just start, you realize Pericles is in Antioch. He wants to get a wife, right? The whole thing starts off with he wants to get a wife. And this princess is there. But then you also run into figures of death almost right away, right? The suitors of the princess that weren't able to answer the riddle, they get their heads cut off. So death is present right away in Pericles. I hope you noticed that, right? So always notice what's there at the beginning. Death is there. Yet Pericles wants a wife. Now, why would someone want a wife? And if you look at his speeches, he wants, in Act 1, okay, it's pretty clear that his view of marriage is that it produces offspring, okay? He needs a wife so he can have children. He feels like, as the Prince of Tyre, he needs to find a wife so that the Tyre, now Prince here, Prince and King are a little tricky. We can view, we can view Pericles as the king of Tyre. Prince literally means the first citizen, the principe, right? The top. So sometimes princes are equated with kings, but then you get Hamlet, where you have King Hamlet and Prince Hamlet, and when there's obviously a distinction like that in the play, you have to run with it. But if you don't have that distinction, you have to entertain the notion that by prince they mean the leader, the king. Shakespeare means the king. So here I think he would. This is the top leader of Tyre here, and the city wants to have this issue of succession settled. Who's going to lead us? Look at how the lords talk when Pericles is out running around on the sea. The lords of Tyre come to Helicanus, don't they, and say, we need to get this thing settled. We need a stable line of succession. So Pericles wants. I'm convinced, and I think the data is there in the text, that Pericles wants to get married for children. Okay, now notice how Pericles at the beginning is very bravado. I mean, he laughs at death. Antiochus warns him, "If you get this wrong, you're dying." And Pericles, I'm ready for it. I've already made here's my will right now, and he extempore. It's just a spontaneous will that he utters in one of his set of lines at the beginning. He's not afraid of death, okay? But then he solves the riddle, and he looks up and he sees the daughter of Antiochus, and he says, "There's death here. There's death in those gates. No man who seeks perfection and the fruits of perfection will ever touch this gate. There's death here." And all of a sudden he becomes very scared of the daughter. He just, everything is back off. So he just, at one point he wasn't afraid of them. And then all of a sudden, this is, and it's as if in his mind he's saying, well, physical death, everyone is born to die. It's just common. I'm ready. And then it's as if he realized, well, that's that death. But then there's like this much deeper death, that when I realize that this daughter is full of this deeper death, I'm out of here. I don't even want to be around here. So there's death. But then there's a deeper death, and Pericles, I'm making this assumption because he wasn't afraid of death until he found out that Antiochus and his daughter are engaging in incest, and it's the act of incest that has polluted the daughter, that makes Pericles run now, afraid of dying with this daughter, afraid of the death that's in the daughter. So what is the type of death that really is at play in Pericles? Because of all that, and because of the one thing that was different, when his estimation of the girl before he read the riddle was the only thing that changed is that he gets the knowledge that the girl was involved in incest. So that suggests to me that the deeper death involved in this play has something to do with incest. So at this point, I would assume that there are two levels of death happening here, and this play is really about the second level of death down here. the deeper death. And the deeper death has to do with incest. So what exactly is incest? See, this is what I would be asking myself next. And what goes on with this illicit activity? It seems that when a father and a daughter engage in this act, the father stops the daughter from extending her body out into the community to bring in a non-family related member. And it seems like incest is defined as sexual intercourse, which, during this time period would be viewed primarily for offspring, for propagating, for the extension of children. It would mean that this act that was meant to produce legitimate children is now being sterilized with the brother or the father. How come it's bad for the father or the brother to do this? Well, given the parameters of the play, I think you can make a case that it's keeping the daughter from extending her physical body into the community and mixing with it, or becoming more of a larger communal self. So I would immediately start down that path. I would say to myself, I think this play might be about a deeper sort of death than the physical death of an individual. And I think that the deeper death involves somehow a husband and wife pair, and the wife being involved in incest, or not being the fertile, proper children bearer that she should be. So that would suggest to me that if it's about a husband and wife, that the real death involves the breakup of a union of people. So we might be actually talking about a communal body, a communal sense of self. And you'll find that carried out in the play, where Pericles views himself as more than an individual. And the death of this larger self might be the reason incest is such a trouble.